place to be, where art, life, and spirituality connects you and me. Science of mind and spirit, the foundation we teach and live. Love, joy, and belonging are the gifts we have to give. Our consciousness, our being, open at the bottom, open at the top. We're not simply one with God, but we are it itself. It will never stop. SIA, our spiritual center, family and home. It's where we come to practice and remember there is only one life, one mind, one infinite, eternal, self-existent. 'Cause we pause, embodying all that we are. We shine like a glorious star. Our consciousness, our being, open at the bottom, open at the top. We're not simply one with God, but we are it itself. It will never stop. SIA, our spiritual center, family and home. It's where we come to practice and remember there is only one. Spirituality is our way of life. We value laughter, truth, and justice. We express artistry as our living practice. So come and join us at SIA. Know you found a community that will love you every day.
Namaste, greetings and blessings, and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts. This is our Sunday message, and I am Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson, the founder and spiritual director of this center. And I invite you to watch not only this Sunday message, but any of our archived messages. I invite you to join any classes or events that we have going on. I invite you to reach out and email if you have any questions. Questions about this community, questions about me, questions about what we do, or questions about this science of mind and spirit, liberation theology that we practice and teach. And if by chance you find yourself seeking beloved community with other like-minded beings, even if you already belong, are a member of another community, church, or center, you are more than free to have multiple affiliations wherever you are fed and find community. You are invited. And lastly, feel free to click like, subscribe, and share this or any other message or announcements with others in your circle. And with that, much appreciation, love, and blessings. Enjoy the message.
SIA is the place to be. So buckle up, we're making history. And if you are willing, repeat after me. I am love. I am love. it right. One more time. I am love. I am enjoy. I am divine. Amen. Yes, you are. Amen. Yes, you are. Now today's message begins.
Namaste and greetings. Here we are, July 12th. Who I am reflects how I am. If the who is a tiger, then how does a tiger behave? If the who is an artist, how does an artist act? If you squeeze an orange, what kind of juice comes out of it? See, who we are being reflects from the inside to the outside. It becomes an expression. Who we are being becomes the expression. Relationships that we have in all kinds of ways, relationships with others, relationships with ourselves, relationships with stuff, all of that mirrors or gives us access to being able to see and recognize ourselves in a different way. It gives us access into a complete, it's almost like that saying about if you walk a mile in someone else's shoes, or if they walk a mile in yours. When we step into this view of relationship, who do we see ourselves being? We may see ourselves being a very loving and compassionate person when it comes to the relationship we have with family or our children. But when it comes to money, we become someone different. The expression becomes someone different. But it still points to who we are actually being. It's just expressing itself in a different way based upon the relationship. When it's money, I'm mean, I'm cutthroat. When I'm with family, I'm generous. Breathe. So as we dive into these relationships, the more we do so, the more we uncover, who am I actually being? We begin to uncover various parts and aspects of ourselves. We begin to recognize the masks so that we can then begin to remove the masks. We recognize who and what we are authentically. And the more we are able to do that, the more we are able to see the divine in and as everyone and everything that we meet. So ask yourself, what would my life be like if I was truly, authentically myself in every relationship? So as we just introed with, each of these things creates a different kind of drink. What is the drink that each of these produces? Well, in general, we could very easily say, well, lemons, lemonade, apples, apple cider, oranges, orange juice. That's easy. But how do we apply the same principle to human behavior? How do we apply this exact same principle to who we are being at any given moment? Glance at the expressions, facial expressions, body language of the various people you are seeing on your screen, and ask yourself, which people or person is most welcoming? Which ones or which one invites you in versus some way is pushing you away, or at least making you hesitate? Because at any given moment, we check in. What am I giving off? Am I giving off back away? Like the rattlesnake, chicka, 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 chick, back away. Am I, or like the cobra, and opening my hood because I'm getting ready to spit or bite? Or even when we are, quote unquote, upset, there is still a level of calmness and serenity that is still, to a certain degree, welcoming. Meaning, for example, suppose you have children or grandchildren, and you get angry about a spam caller or a bill collector, whatever, or you've been on hold on the phone for 45 minutes, whatever, and you're upset. Do your children and grandchildren feel threatened by your anger or your upsetness? Are they afraid to be in your presence when you're angry about whatever that is? Even when you're disappointed with them and they feel you're disappointed, are they afraid? Or do they understand? Because the love and the compassion are your primary set point, and they simply understand that even though Pop Ray is mad, he's not mad at me. He's mad because of something I've done, my behavior, but he still loves me. Note the difference. All of this speaks to what it means for us to be whole, rather than being fractured, fragmented. To be whole ourselves, we must make the effort it requires to understand what is happening to the world. Pause and breathe that in. What? How is what's happening in the world what's impacting the rest of the world? We cannot stick our heads in the sand and pretend it doesn't exist. Then we must make the effort to change our own lives in ways that begin to reverse the damage we see happening in the world. As we heal ourselves in relevant and applicable ways, that change has no choice but to also change the external environment. But we cannot do that. We cannot be a whole expression of ourselves if we are denying or ignoring someone else or something else as though it matters not. All pieces of the puzzle, in order for the puzzle to be put together in wholeness, all of the pieces of the puzzle must be considered. You can't ignore a certain piece and be like, I don't like that piece. That piece has nothing to do with the puzzle. But it's a part of what? What's going on over there in that country has nothing to do. Is God there? God is everywhere, you said. God is all there is. So if it's happening in, okay, remember the story of the Good Samaritan? So you just like metaphysical malpractice. You just want to do you and the hell with everybody else. Gotcha. You're not going to be able to experience your wholeness for as long as you do that. Are we willing to embrace the totality of? I know I am always whole, theoretically, but I don't always feel that way. I feel half sometimes. I feel fragmented sometimes. Messy. Being whole includes owning all of that as me. When I am feeling fragmented or limited, seeing any of my friends in their wholeness reminds me of my own capacity. And as I stand in my wholeness, which includes being more honest with myself and others about what I want and who I am in the world, it exerts pressure on others, both to receive me and to become more whole in themselves. See, who we are being has the potential to be healing simply by being present, being whole. Just that by itself as a starting place. Because oftentimes, speak for myself, I understand exactly what they were just expressing. Feeling broken or fragmented, feeling split in half in some way, feeling it. So now I understand that even when I may feel that way, it is not the truth of my being. It is the truth of my feeling. It may be the truth of something I'm experiencing, but it is not the absolute truth of my being. So even as I feel fragmented, the truth of my being is that I am whole, perfect, and complete. And because of that, I have many ways to restore my awareness to the truth. And one of those ways is via the art of sacred relationships. Sacred relationships are the ways in which we grow and bloom and branch out and touch others, and they do the same for us. See, it's like a mycelial network amongst the canopy and the trees and the mushrooms and the other vegetation. They are all intimately connected. They support one another. They communicate with one another. They nurture one another. Well, we are in many ways the same, and our relationships can do the same as a healing practice. So, as you think about relationships and vulnerability, because that plays into relationships, reflect on this quote from Adrienne Marie Brown. Life is not happening to us. We are learning to be in the actual current moment, to recognize where we have choice. What does this quote evoke for you? What comes up when you realize life is not happening to me? I have a choice, but do I recognize and understand where and what the choices are? And how am I accessing them? Now, normally when we hear this word relationships, we think in terms of very specific things. Most people, you say relationships, people don't think about their relationship with money. If you ask someone, are you in a relationship? They're not going to say, yes, I've had my dog and my cats for 4 years now. They're not, the average person is not going to respond that way. Are you in a relationship? Yes, with my smartphone. We connect every day. Most people that's not going to be their response. When we say relationships, most of us, our go-to is a very select area. But even there, how clear are we on the variations of those relationships? How many platonic relationships do we have? How many romantic relationships do we have? Or have we ever had? Or do we want to have? How many of our relationships are codependent? How many of our relationships are just casual? How is casual and codependent connected or not connected? Romantic, connected, not connected. Well, what about open? Do we have open relationships? If so, what does that mean? Toxic relationships. Which romantic relationships are also codependent and toxic? Which platonic ones are codependent and toxic? Is codependent always toxic? Now ask, how do my relationships show up with money? Am I codependent in my relationship with money? Am I codependent in my relationship with my employer? Am I codependent in my relationship with my children? Or my minister? Or my community? Is my relationship with my parents toxic? See, there are all kinds of ways we can talk about this, because if we get down to the nuts and bolts of it, it's all about relationships, because it's all about God. How is God, as all this stuff, relating to itself as all the stuff? So as we look at our relationships and we say, okay, so which ones are toxic? Which ones are healthy? What's the criteria that we would say this? Because from my own experience, I recognize that there are many relationships that I have had that I thought were cool, but they weren't. They were toxic. And I didn't realize it. For some, I didn't realize until many years later. For some, I felt there's something in the midst of this that it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good. But I guess this is the way it's supposed to be. Do we know the criteria? Are we willing to accept the criteria? Because one of the key things is how we are being is going to ripple out and impact those around us. So the degree of authenticity we have and express is going to be far more healing to those around us. Do you have the courage to truly be yourself? And in terms of being authentically yourself, being real, do you know the difference between when you or someone else is being real versus fake? Because the funny thing is, if I were to say, which one of these birds is real, you might be inclined to say, well, the one with feathers, not the plastic one. But we could look at it in a couple of different ways. Number one, both the rubber ducky and the chick are both real. This is a real rubber ducky. This is a real chick. But they're both fake in that they're both images of a rubber ducky and a chick. So once again, it depends on what we're looking for and what we're looking with. Because there are times when it is perfectly fine for us to be fake. There are times when we pretend to be something or someone else, which we're going to get to in a minute. And then there are times when we falsely believe ourselves to be something or someone else. Do we know the difference? If I put on my Jedi robes, get my lightsabers, I'm pretending to, well, I mean, I guess technically I'm not, because I am an ordained Jedi. Well, that's a different conversation. So suppose I go and take out my Spider-Man outfit or my Doctor Strange and pretend to be Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther. That's pretending, right? I dress up for Halloween. That's pretending. I don't go outside and hand candy to the kids thinking I am actually Doctor Strange. I know the difference. Do we know the difference between when we are pretending to be something or someone versus falsely believing? How many of us falsely believe we are sinners, that we are broken, that we are damaged goods and not worth whatever? We believe it. Why? And are we ready to relinquish the false belief? Humanity and divinity, which technically they're already identical, but humanity and divinity will be identical when we recognize divinity in humanity. We must learn to see through the apparent perception to realize that at the center of every person's soul, God is present. And it's not just at the center of your soul, it is all of your soul and all of your body and all of your mind, and it's everything. Compassion and caring are the ties that bind us together in mutual understanding and in the unified attempt to uncover, to reveal the divinity in each other. Compassion is the most gentle of all human virtues because it is the outpouring, the expression of the divine givingness to all, through all, and as all. When you see this picture, what do you see? And if you're a Star Wars fan, you know they're stormtroopers. But if I were to ask you, which one's Luke Skywalker? Or which one is Finn? You may be like, what? Well, in this current perception, you don't recognize because you're not able to see through the mask to the individual behind the mask. But that's precisely what Dr. Holmes is inviting us to do by seeing divinity in humanity and humanity as divinity, is to remove the mask that makes us think something or someone is something other than who and what they are. Since God does not manifest itself alike in and as every person, being unique in each, no person needs to feel out of place in the universe in which they live and move and have their being. There is a right something that each of us can do. How often do we try to homogenize one another? We try to be like everyone, everything. We want to compare ourselves and create this homogenized. That's not what God does. As I've said many times before, if that was the intention of the divine, there would be one kind of apple. There would be one musical note, one color. There wouldn't be a rainbow. It'd be a single color. So the divine is showing up in, through, and as each and every one as a special demonstration and expression. And we are invited to celebrate our uniqueness, to not squander it trying to be what someone else is. I remember years ago, somebody said something about me being the next Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith. And someone stopped them, Amy Perry, if I'm not mistaken, stopped them and said, no, he's not the next Reverend Michael. He's the first Reverend Ray. We need not try to be the next Martin Luther King Jr., the next Neil Armstrong, the next Gandhi. There was already a Gandhi. There was already a Bayard Rustin. There was already a James Baldwin. There's already a James Earl Jones. There's already Denzel Washington. Already. Be the first and only divine expression that is you, and do what you choose to do with your divinity. How do you choose to use it and to express it? This is not about some anthropomorphic deity having a destiny for you and having something specific for you to do. This is about you accessing your authentic power and presence as the divine and making a choice We all seek to become whole. Our apparent unwholeness is in not understanding that part of us which is already whole. And our search for it is occasioned once in a while by the fact that something is always reminding us and telling us that the wholeness is already present. Many of us are seeking wholeness, but there's actually a deeper reality. So let's remix. Are you ready? We all seek to recognize and embody our innate divine wholeness. Our seeming unwholeness is in not understanding, not recognizing, and not embodying that awareness and that truth that we are already whole. We are already whole. And our search for it is not really a search, but an awakening, telling us that it is exactly what we are. Breathe. So even when we feel fractured and broken, we are whole. Even when we may be conditioned to wear masks and to hide, it doesn't change our wholeness. It simply means we don't understand and we don't recognize the truth. But the more we can begin to practice, to study, to integrate, and apply, the more we recognize, oh, that's a mask. And then choice. Do I choose to put it on or be my authentic self? Many of us don't even realize, right? Like we think, I need the mask for protection. And we get so accustomed to the protection in the mask that we don't even recognize our own face anymore. As he's saying, do I even know who I really am? Well, if you've been conditioned to wear a mask since early childhood, probably not. So part of the search is coming to the awareness and understanding of precisely who and what you are truly. The whole purpose of the science of mind is to reconcile the apparent separation of the spiritual world, which must be perfect, with the material world, which must be perfect, even though it appears to be imperfect. The spiritual world is the cause of the material. We are all spiritual beings governed by mental law. Only that world can appear to us, which we mentally, based upon the spiritual law, mentally perceive. A person's experience is the logical outcome of their inner vision. Their horizon is limited to the confines of their own consciousness. Wherever this consciousness lacks a true perspective, the outward expression of it will lack proper harmony in expression. This is why we are taught to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. Since no one is able to live by proxy for another, but each one of us unto ourselves, every individual must make the practice to test their own soul. Exercise, apply, engage their own soul. So if we want a different world, a world that works for all, then we start with, am I able to mentally perceive the truth of myself authentically, of you authentically, of others authentically, of the world in general authentically, and begin to change what needs to be changed for that to be the expression? And part of that includes being able to understand that a mask simply in and of itself is not a bad thing, but it is recognizing what is the purpose of the mask. Some masks are used for beauty or for health and well-being related things like protection from germs and etc. Some masks are used specifically as it applies to film, television, acting, being a character. Are we able to identify the difference between these masks thus far? A mask for beauty versus a mask for a movie. Okay. And even with these masks are certain representations of the character, the consciousness of the person wearing the mask. Even the other masks are a reflection of the consciousness of the person using them. These masks, what are they used for? For pleasure, pretend, for play, for masquerade parties and balls and celebrations. Why do they look different? Because they are some form of an outward expression of what the person is choosing to express. These masks, what are they for? Who wears them? Well, they're used culturally. They're used in rituals and in ceremonies. They are also used in certain cultural forms of theater, storytelling. So once again, are we able to identify what masks do I wear and why am I wearing it? Whether it's a literal mask or a figurative mask. And am I able to identify if the mask is life affirming or not? All of life is about relationship. Relationship with self, relationship with others, relationship with God, nature. The quality of our relationships tends to be adversely affected by the masks we have learned to wear. Masks that we hide behind so others cannot see the true who is behind the mask. I need to hide myself for protection or something. Masks that have been passed down, and when we know how and why that particular mask or that particular part came to be, we know it is not the true shape of our faces. Everything changes when our emotions are then freed. When we can relate to each other in an undefensive manner and then find a path to one another. Dropping our masks and ultimately eliminating the need and desire for the mask for that reason, hiding, etc., at all, requires more than just changing our thoughts. True healing, there's the key. True healing must be embodied. Embodiment that occurs through developing greater self-awareness, greater emotional intelligence and regulation, and greater recognition of what motivates and fuels our habits and behaviors, and the ability to perceive the subtle somatic sensations throughout our bodies. As we free our authentic selves, we can then relate more compassionately and more powerfully with others, whoever they may be. Did you know that the way we were indoctrinated to wear masks in a great way taught us how to hide from ourselves? So then we grow up playing an adult game of hide and seek, where we, for so many years, were hiding. Who am I? Where am I? What am I? What am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? Where, oh, where, blah, 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 blah. We were conditioned to hide from ourselves. And now we're spending so much time in meditation and prayer and other practices trying to seek and find who we are. But the one seeking is also the one who was hiding. So once again, it's not necessarily about seeking. It's about understanding, revealing, and expressing. Part of the experience, we may, call it seeking, we may call it, I'm searching for the truth. Yeah, we may use the words. Yeah, and that's fine, as long as we understand it's for linguistic convenience. Just like this says, Science of Mind teaches there is no healing to be done. There is no searching that needs to occur. God is already present. Truth is already present. So we need not do it, merely receive the truth of it. To see this truth in ourselves and in others, we must move beyond the historical impositions of another time mapped in our bodies, telling us who and where we are. How are we repeating the patterns of the past and using those patterns and those definitions to define who we are today? And remember that when we talk to each other, we are talking to God. It's all about relationships. We cannot have God in the chamber of prayer and not have God on the street corner. You can't dissect God and do that. So if we can clearly see the nature of our relationships, we can become more skillful and more authentic in our interactions, and see that there are ways of relating that might allow us to connect and to come out of the automatic past so that we can meet one another in the here and now, not bypassing our history, but moving forward from its knowledge and its influence and impact. For example, why are there still people today who do this, who live like this, who are taking the old ideologies of a bygone era and they're recloaking themselves in the consciousness of, the behavior of, whatever that was, racism, white supremacy, white narcissism, sexism, etc. Why are we not willing and able to move into a greater future, but we would rather stay stuck in the past of make America great again versus let's make the world a world that works for all. It's never happened before. That's moving forward. That's a future vision. That's not trying to recapture the nostalgia of a bygone era. That's based on a certain group perception of that bygone era. Because the time that many of these individuals want to recapture and reinvigorate were eras where somebody was denied their rights, whether it's women, people of color, immigrants, somebody wasn't in the room, let alone at the table. Go back so far, there was no such thing as the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA. So this great America that many of them reference is pre-ADA. That means no accessibility for wheelchairs, sign language interpreters, etc. Well, it's not going to be great for those people then. So why do we, now I don't even want to ask that. Those who are choosing not to learn from a non-life affirming history or past and also subsequently heal are doomed to repeat it. So if we don't want to repeat the horrors of history, we need to learn and we need to heal, or we are going to repeat. It's as simple as that. We either learn and heal, or we end up repeating. Is that what we want to do? Is that how we create a world that works for all, by repeating racism and sexism? Authenticity is the foundation for realizing our deep connections. Many things can get in the way of authenticity, including internal factors such as our baggage, our non-life affirming ideas of self, and the masks that we learned to wear. Then there are the external factors, including societal pressures, peer pressures, historical injustices, systemic issues with money and ethnicity and cultural and political systems that privilege some over or on top of the bodies of others. Hemphill writes that authenticity isn't a personality trait that people simply possess. Authenticity is a way that we decide to be, how we choose to interact with the world. Authenticity is a willingness, and I suppose, an ability to be both oneself and be in the discovery of who that self really is. Being authentic means being willing to tell the truth of our experience, no matter how messy or complex it may be, as human beings. Now, there are risks, and sometimes there are rewards for those who are inauthentic. for those who choose to stay behind the masks. However, as Hemphill writes, authenticity is at the root of vulnerability, intimacy, relationship. When we take off our mask, we invite others to do the same. In other words, as we heal, we invite others to heal. As we let our light shine, we give others permission to let their light shine. And as we begin to illuminate our own lives, that illumination grows to be so strong, so profound, so magnificent that we don't even need to say anything. Simply walking into a room changes the atmosphere, changes the way we are, changes the way the air smells. And that's when we are truly on the path of healing and of creating a world that works for all. To actively embody and engage the science of mind and spirit 4.0 is to practice slowly peeling away the layers of the masks that we have learned to hide behind, regardless of the reason, which is one thing or another. We do not hide from, nor do we ignore the pains of the past or the sins and mistakes of the past. We learn from them and we evolve. Don't ignore it. Don't hide it. Learn from it. Grow from it. Evolve from it. We practice what it means to fully embrace, embody, and express the truth of ourselves. And when we find systems and structures that would have us deny or vilify who and what we are, we use Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0 to transform, transmute, or terminate those non-life affirming structures and or systems to more effectively facilitate and manifest the world that truly does work for all. Breathe. This week's declaration, our affirmation, I will say it first. If it resonates with you, I invite you to repeat it with me the second time. I honor the divine humanity and the human divinity of everyone I meet. Together. I honor the divine humanity and the human divinity of everyone I meet. And so it is. This week's Thursday night study group journal questions or study questions or your own personal journal questions. Number one, what would my life be like if I was authentically myself in every relationship? Number two, what are some masks that I have worn in my life? And what was the reason for wearing them? To hide, to protect, to avoid, to pretend. Number three, when have I not felt whole? And how might I describe what that felt like? Number four, what are some things I have learned from the past? What are some things I have healed from the past? What are some things I have repeated from the past? Specifically, things I have repeated that have been non-life affirming. Number five, what messy truths am I willing to tell? And lastly, number 6, who are my closest, my frayed, and my no longer existent relationships with? And describe the relationships. Who am I closest to? Describe the relationships. This relationship is frayed. Describe the relationship. This relationship is no longer existent. Describe the relationship. And when you are ready and have an opportunity, have a conversation about a challenging relationship, past or present. What was or is challenging about it? And what are you doing to heal or find resolution? Breathe. And so we close with prayer. Prayer being purposefulness, resourcefulness, awareness, yarfulness. Did you look that word up yet? Enthusiasm and radiance. And so this week we are simply going to hold these words and these concepts in our mind as the path to creating a world that works for all. How are we expressing our purposefulness? What is the purpose we are giving our own lives? How are we enthusiastic about our relationships? How is our radiance, our radiant being showing up? And so we simply breathe, knowing that prayer, being all that we are and all that we do, prayer is actively occurring always and in all ways. We are either praying for that which is life affirming, or we are praying for that which is non-life affirming. And we get to choose. And so in this moment, we breathe and we awaken to the truth of our being, the authentic power of our being. And we choose moment by moment that which is greater in love, greater in truth, greater in that which is life affirming. And knowing that it is already expressing and showing up in our lives moment by moment, breath by breath, choice by choice. Our amen is the way that we live. And so it is. So this week, as always, be love, act fabulous, know joy, and live love every day. As always, thank you for being here. You are an amazing, beloved individual. Look forward to seeing you either during the week or right here next Sunday. Blessings, be well, treat yourself kindly.
Today's message is complete, something to believe, a seed of truth that we can practice if we choose to receive. As we take the science of mind and spirit pour it over to every corner of the world where the healing needs to go. We know it's not a secret, can't block behind a door. It's the wisdom that we're living, and love is what we share it for. Now step into the world, be a healing, hopeful beacon. You're walking the path and offering to all who may be seeking. Know it, practice it, live it every day. That's how we heal the consciousness. We wash the ignorance away. Time to heal the world and make the vision come true. No more waiting for someone else to do what we can do. With gratitude, love, and a joy so we have principles, practices, and promises we're all going to keep. Take the teaching out into the busy street, to every stranger and every soul you meet. Dedication to liberation is the key we hold. A story of freedom that's waiting to be told. Right where you are is holy ground. Feel into your rhythm and the sacred sound. You're an incarnation of the divine. You're holy, powerful, and good. And you are called to be that in the world and do what only you could. Know it, practice it, live it every day. That's how we heal the consciousness. We wash the ignorance away. Time to heal the world and make the vision come true. No more waiting for someone else to do what we can do. With gratitude, love, and a joy so deep, we have principles, practices, and promises we're all gonna keep. Be the change that you want to see. Unlock the chains and set all life free. From the heart of the city to the jungles and open plains, breaking the cycles of oppression and its heavy chains. It's a revolution of the body, the mind, and the soul. Mending, making, and manifesting the broken parts now finally whole. Know it, practice it, live it every day. That's how we heal the consciousness. We wash the ignorance away. Time to heal the world and make the vision come true. No more waiting for someone else to do what we can do. With gratitude, love, and a joy so deep, we have principles, practices, and promises we're all gonna keep. Right where you are sacred. Right where you are, shining so bright. Right where you are, the divine is expressing. Right where you are, life. So live it every day. Make the vision now come sing. In divine is not far off watching. It is incarnating itself as you. Have an amazing week and know that you are loved.